These huge Xbox secrets were revealed by a slideshow? Should you throw away your Series S? Let's discuss. What's up guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. The Series S is under fire yet again. My poor Series S. I love that thing, man, but people love hating on it as well. For a little bit of context, Larian Studios, the people who are working on Baldur's Gate 3, legendary RPG franchise, they came out and they were like, ooh, we're not going to be able to ship the Xbox version of our game at the same time as the PlayStation and PC version, because we're not able to get split-screen co-op running on the Series S. And because Microsoft has this policy saying that all games have to have feature parity between the Series S and X, Larian Studios is like, well, we're gonna have to delay the Xbox version of our game. And you probably know what happened next. Everyone was like, oh, the Series S is a potato, it's holding Xbox back, it's holding the whole gaming industry back. Not just Xbox, the whole gaming industry, bro. And this is an argument that comes up every like 3 or 4 months. Is the Series S to blame for global warming, for famine, for war, for holding back the video game industry? And it was reignited again because Larian Studios came out and said, yay, we're going to be releasing Baldur's Gate 3 for PC in August. And then a month later, it's going to be coming out for PlayStation 5. Xbox? I don't know. But not all hope is lost. Apparently, Larian Studios is now working closely with Xbox engineers in order to bring split-screen co-op to the Series S and then be able to ship Baldur's Gate 3 for the Xbox platform. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably thinking like, okay, well, why don't they just do what most other developers do? They just like turn down the resolution, they turn down the performance, like what gives? If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm a sucker for fantasy games. I love all things related to magic, orcs, elves, dwarves, you name it. And you know what's got all that? Raid Shadow Legends. This video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. With over 700 champions to build your team with, each with their own unique skills and abilities, you can battle your way through an almost endless amount of content in both PvE and PvP game modes. Join over 400 million people playing in 190 countries. With a bustling worldwide community of players, Raid's one of the hottest mobile games around, and it's only getting bigger. There's a ton of content to work through, like 12 different dungeons, and they're always adding more. You can play on your phone or on your desktop and endlessly customize your team with over 400 options. They're also adding in a bunch of new content related to their new show on YouTube, Raid Call of the Arbiter, which is playing right behind me, including a free legendary champion, the mighty orc war chief Artok. All you have to do to get him is log into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. Easy. There's even some familiar characters if you play the game that appear in the show, like Elhain. If you want to jump in and get your raid on, use the link down in the description or scan this QR code. You'll also get a couple of bonuses like an epic champion, Knight Errant. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video. Apparently this specific feature is a memory issue, and again, because this is a feature, split screen co-op on the same console and not a graphical difference between the Series X and S, they cannot ship it at all for the platform. I personally don't think it would be unreasonable for them to be like, listen, if you're playing on a Series S, Baldur's Gate 3, you can play co-op online, you just can't play it on the same console. If you want to do that, you got to do it on the Series X. But Microsoft seems pretty insistent that both consoles have the same features, which I see where they're coming from, right? They want Series S owners to have a similar experience. Maybe not graphically, but feature-wise, sure. So the debate is reignited. I saw an article the other day that was like, the Series S is holding Xbox back and they gotta do something. And I disagree. Respectfully disagree. I think the Series S serves a specific market, a market of gamers and people who are interested in gaming who don't necessarily care about gaming at 4K or like super high frame rate. They're like, yeah, 1440p, 30 FPS, that's good enough for me. 1080p, 60 FPS, sure, that works for me too. I think the majority of people who enjoy video games or are interested in video games who are not online, chronically online, typically don't care about that. Like if I go up to someone that likes video games in real life and I'm like, oh brother, let's talk about FSR2, DLSS, let's talk about real-time ray tracing, they would be like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not fully convinced that the Series S is holding back gaming, it's holding back Xbox. It's certainly performing very well in terms of sales for them. Apparently 48% of Series S owners are new to the Xbox ecosystem. They've never had an Xbox before. In that way, it's very successful. It's hands down the cheapest console on the market right now. And I like the idea of having an affordable option. As the world is getting more expensive, it's getting more crazy. And keep in mind, the Series S is not the only low-end gaming machine out on the market right now. There are tons of low-end gaming PCs out there, and that did not stop Larian Studios from shipping out Baldur's Gate 3 for PC in August. And they have confirmed that they are shipping split-screen co-op for PC. The Steam Deck is also floating around out there, which is definitely not like a top-end gaming system, but still doesn't stop developers from shipping their games on the Steam Deck, and no one's saying like, oh, the Steam Deck is holding back gaming, this is BS. On the other side though, is it worth it for Xbox to be a stickler about feature parity for third-party games? For first-party, yes, they should all have the same features between the Series S and the Series X. But for third-party developers, is that asking for too much? And are you going to have to spend resources, again, of sending your engineers to work on these third-party games in order to bring their features to the Series S? It could be a policy worth looking over if you're Microsoft, but I think it's a little bit dramatic to say that the Series S is the downfall of video games. Now we gotta talk about some interesting things we learned about Xbox as a brand, and for the first time in forever, we are not learning these things because of the Activision Blizzard acquisition. ID at Xbox recently did a presentation in Brazil, and they were showing people this slideshow that contained some interesting information. They've confirmed that to date, the Xbox Series X and S combined have sold over 21 million consoles. This is significant because usually Xbox doesn't say anything about console sale numbers. The way I've been keeping track of it is thanks to VG Charts, and that website has them at about 21.96 million consoles sold. So consistent with what we're seeing in this slideshow. Now to me, I'm kind of like, seems a little low, guys. It seems a little bit low, especially when you compare it to PlayStation 5s being sold. They're at like 38 million right now. They're close to like almost doubling the amount of Series X and S consoles sold. And at this point, guys, it's like we're very close to the halfway mark in terms of this console generation. If we're assuming the next generation is going to be starting like 2028, we're almost to that 4-year halfway mark. And I find it hard to believe that the series consoles are going to break like 100 million mark by that point in the next 4 years. Of course, that could change, right? If Xbox starts rolling on their first-party output, that could totally change. For example, there's a lot of interest in Starfield after Starfield Direct, after the showcase. It's being wishlisted like crazy on Steam, pre-orders are doing really well. If that game comes out and it's reviewing very well and people are enjoying it, sure, a bunch of people could be like, oh, I gotta get an Xbox so I can play this game. And if they keep that output rolling, if they keep that quality up, sure, a lot of people could then buy Xbox consoles and boost those sales. Well, if in a couple of years the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it's exclusive to Xbox, you better believe that's going to push some units as well. But as of right now, 21 million consoles sold 3 years in, it seems a little bit low. I know there's been a lot of different factors contributing to that, the console shortage, just general craziness in the world and in the industry. But also it feels like 2022 hurt Xbox Series X and S sales a little bit more than we originally thought. 2022 was dry in terms of Xbox first party. There are a few bright spots here and there, but overall, pretty dry. Up until 2022, Xbox and PlayStation, they were keeping pretty neck and neck in terms of sales. And then after that, PS5 just broke off and they're just on another level now. Does that really matter for Xbox though? For the past couple of years, we know that Microsoft has been looking at their gaming division as an ecosystem rather than just Xbox. Xbox is a big part of it, sure, but we also know they're making a push in the PC gaming market and sort of in cloud gaming. They said there's 248.6 million Windows gaming PCs globally, 168.3 million monthly Windows Store users, and a 3% year-over-year increase in paid unique viewers. They also said there was a 20% year-over-year growth for monthly active Xbox app users. There was something else in this slideshow beyond the sales and all that stuff that is a little bit interesting to me, a little bit concerning as well. There's a lot of stuff in the slideshow that was basically a pitch of like, here's why you should put your game on Xbox, on the Xbox platform. You'll have all these tools, you have a big audience, you'll have all the support from like our different partners and stuff. And they also had this slide that was like, premium sales, in-game sales, if you want to like have a little store in your game. But then they also, the third part of it was in-game advertising. Now, what's that? What's that, Xbox? We got to talk about that. This is not the first time that we've heard of Xbox, Microsoft potentially exploring the possibility of having advertisements in-game. This is something that we've been hearing about for a while, and guys, usually when there is smoke, there is fire. I've talked to some people in person from Xbox. They were like, oh, what if we did like an ad-supported tier for Game Pass? And lately we've been seeing a ton of articles on it. I think recently there was a survey asking Xbox customers whether they'd be okay with advertising in games or some sort of advertising. And listen, man, I get it. Microsoft is not the only tech company exploring ways to capitalize on ad revenue. We've seen this with Twitter, we're seeing this with Reddit, TikTok I know is messing around with ads as well. So yes, I get it, like everyone wants to make money and ads are a great way to do that, sure. They're kind of like a necessary evil for a lot of platforms at this point. But if anyone from Xbox is listening, and you know, I could be overreacting here, there could be no plans to bring any advertising to Game Pass or in Game Pass games, but I'm begging you, please do not do this. Video games, console games, and PC games, obviously not mobile games, they're like the last place that you will not like, that remain untouched by ads. Like when I start playing a game, I'm like, there's no way that my game is going to be listening to me and then try to serve me up an ad for like, I don't know, like adjustable dumbbells or something stupid like that. I think the backlash would be swift. It would be severe if they chose to implement ads in games. There's already a ton of ads on my Xbox. Like I open up the dashboard and they've gotten a little better. Because now at least they're like Xbox and game related. But for a while it was like, yo, check out this show or movie on freaking Freevee or whatever streaming service they're partnered up with. So again, this may be an overreaction, but please don't do this. Don't do it. Speaking of Game Pass, I recently just did a video highlighting Sony's remarks during this FTC hearing that's going on with Xbox, where Jim Ryan claimed that publishers unanimously hate Xbox Game Pass. And honestly, I'm sure they do. This was backed up a little bit by Bobby Kotick over at Activision Blizzard, saying that unless they were acquired, there was no way that they were going to put Call of Duty or other titles on any subscription services like Game Pass. And man, honestly, I bet they do. I bet publishers hate Game Pass. They're like, dang it, we used to be able to sell people $60, $70 games. Sometimes they would even pre-order it, and a lot of the times the games wouldn't even work. They would be broken, they'd be buggy, but we'd still have the money. And now that Game Pass is a thing, people are trying the game out before buying it. Dang it. Damn. But apparently not all publishers hate a Game Pass like Jim Ryan is suggesting. Miles Jacobson, the director of Sports Interactive, recently had some thoughts to share about Ryan's statement. Different games work well in different situations, suggesting that generalized statements like Ryan's claim that all publishers dislike Xbox Game Pass have little basis in reality. From Sports Interactive's perspective, the decision to bring Football Manager to Xbox Game Pass yielded extremely positive results, not least because it massively expanded the reach of the studio's flagship series. Sports Interactive's parent company, Sega, also has had some good things to say about Game Pass in the past, and we've certainly seen that Sega is perfectly willing to put their titles on Game Pass. And y'all know me, obviously I run an Xbox channel, I am a fan of Game Pass, and right now I'm thinking of an interesting point that was brought up in this latest injunction hearing that the FTC and Xbox had. The judge at one point remarked, okay, that may be bad for Sony, this deal may be bad for Sony, but is it bad for the consumer? That's what should be important here. And I think that's sort of how I'm looking at Game Pass right now. Is Game Pass bad for the industry? I don't know. But we should be asking, is Game Pass bad for the consumer? And as of right now, Game Pass seems to be pretty consumer friendly. Of course, we haven't seen the full potential of Game Pass because, like I've said in the past, there are some day one additions to Game Pass that are like, oh my gosh, this is a banger. And there are some that are like, okay, I'd rather forget that I spent any time playing that game at all. But $10, $15 a month for hundreds of titles, including day one games that hopefully are gonna get better, starting with like Starfield and all that, I feel like that pretty consumer friendly for now. Next up, we gotta talk about this PlayStation exclusive finally coming over to Xbox consoles, and no, I am not talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Last year, Stray came out on PlayStation 5, and it went on to get a Game of the Year award nomination. I played it, I enjoyed it, I thought it was a pretty good game. Was it Game of the Year worthy? I don't know, but at the same time, 2022 was a pretty slow year. But a lot of Xbox fans were left wondering, when am I gonna get to play this cat game? PlayStation had a timed exclusivity deal on it, which has expired, and now we officially have a release date. It's gonna be coming to Xbox consoles on the 10th of August. Now, as I said before, this is a game where you play as a cat, and that's probably why like 80% of people bought it. You play as this little orange kitty living with your kitty family, but then all of a sudden you drop into the depths of the earth. You're separated from your little kitty family, and you spend the rest of the game trying to get back to the surface in order to reunite with them. You'll spend your time navigating the city, like solving different puzzles, and trying to solve the mystery about what happened to the human race, and also trying to get to the surface. When this game comes to Xbox, it should be more or less the same as it plays on PlayStation. But I will say there was a lot of stuff related to the DualSense controller in terms of the haptic feedback stuff, which obviously will not be present on your Xbox wireless controller. You could do certain cat things that would change the pressure of your triggers on your DualSense. Like you can scratch a post or like make muffins on a carpet or whatever, or a blanket, and the triggers would kind of vibrate and adjust the pressure like you were kind of kneading your paws. You can also feel the footsteps of the cat in the PlayStation controller, so all that stuff probably not going to make its way over to Xbox. But other than that, you should still be able to enjoy the game without that. I know this probably isn't going to be a game for everyone, but when it comes out on August 10th, I feel like it's worth a shot. I feel like they would be adding this game day one to Game Pass. They did it for PlayStation Plus Extra when it launched last year, so I'm like, I feel like why would they do it for PlayStation Plus Extra and not Game Pass? Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video. If you want to jump into Raid and check out all this game has to offer, use the link down in my description or scan this QR code.